Dean, would you please lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Flag of the United States of America,
To the
the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Victor, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Yes. Father God in heaven, we thank you for this wonderful day that you've allowed us to breathe in. God, we are here for your glory. Allow us to do your perfect will today. God, we ask for your guidance and for your direction to deal with everything going on downtown, Lord, the big and the small, that you will put the people in place that need to be there. God, that you will close doors and that you will open doors where they need to be. In the mighty name of your son, Jesus, amen. Amen.
You need a roll call?
Counselor Howard,
Here.
Counselor Locke. Here. Counselor Lorenz,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Here.
Mayor Becker.
Here.
Counselor Howard and Counselor Lorenz are appearing with us by Zoom tonight, and a quorum is declared.
Have any modifications to the agenda?
No, sir.
Right. Approval of the consent agenda for minutes of regular meeting from August 18th, 2023, and review and approval of accounts payable.
Motion to approve minutes of regular meeting from August 18th, 2023. And approval of accounts payable.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda for the minutes of regular meeting from August 18th, 2023, and approval of accounts payable. Is there any discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we'll go to proclamations, communications, and appointments. Proclamation for suicide prevention. City of Monte Vista, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month proclamation. The proclamation proudly designates the month of September as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the city of Monte Vista, nestled in the heart of the San Luis Valley of Colorado. Whereas the communities of the San Luis Valley understand the profound significance of raising awareness about suicide prevention and its vital role in promoting the overall well-being of our distinctive region. And whereas the ripple effects of mental health challenges resonate deeply within our tightly knit families and neighborhoods, impacting lives from Alamosa to Crestone and from Saguache to Monte Vista. And whereas the San Luis Valley Behavioral Health Group, in partnership with our dedicated municipal authorities, stands unwavering in its commitment to provide essential resources and unwavering support to aid individuals as they bravely confront mental health related struggles. And whereas we acknowledge and honor the exceptional individuals within our valley who have triumphed over mental health challenges, weaving their narratives into the rich tapestry of our community. And whereas in the San Luis Valley, renowned for its breathtaking landscape and resilient communities, embraces the responsibility of addressing the pervasive impact of mental health issues that touch the lives of adults and the next generation each year. And whereas we recognize that only a fraction of those grappling with severe mental health challenges seek the necessary care and assistance, and thus we endeavor to bridge the gap by fostering a culture of empathy and support. And whereas we acknowledge that the shadows of stigma and apprehension often cast shadows upon those who courageously seek the help they deserve, and we are determined to dissolve this darkness with understanding and acceptance. And whereas our local communities have borne witness to the transformative power of personal interactions with individuals who have emerged triumphant from the struggle against mental health challenges, thereby playing a pivotal role in dismantling misconception and biases. And whereas We comprehend that nurturing robust mental and emotional well-being is not only essential for our families and neighborhoods, but also crucial for the flourishing of our esteemed educational institutions and thriving businesses. And whereas the San Luis Valley, in collaboration with our devoted partner municipality, is steadfast in amplifying public awareness about mental health issues, embarking on a collective voyage to reshape attitudes and behaviors, and tirelessly advocating for accessible, effective services for every individual journeying, there we go, I got it, sorry. Journeying along the path of recovery. Now, therefore, I, Dale Becker, Mayor of the City of Monte Vista, San Luis Valley, Colorado, do hereby proclaim and declare September 2023 as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. As mayor, I implore every resident, government entity, public and private establishment, business and school within the vast embrace of the San Luis Valley to unite in reaffirming our unwavering commitment to enhance awareness and comprehension of mental health challenges, to erode the bedrock of stigma and bias, and to vigorously champion fitting and easily accessible service for all those navigating the intricate journey to recovery. In witness whereof, I have affixed my signature and caused the official seal of the City of Monte Vista, the San Luis Valley, Colorado, to be affixed to this 7th day of September in the year of 2023. Unita, you said there was somebody here. Would you like to say something? Please announce your name up there, please.
My name is Kate Jack. I'm the Director of Communications and Development for San Luis Valley Behavioral Health Group. We submitted the proclamation that you read today, Mr. Beckner, so I appreciate you and council inviting us here today to join you in recognizing September as Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. I think, as we all know, ending stigma just is really focused around being brave enough to talk about uncomfortable topics like mental health and suicide prevention. So I want to thank you guys for partnering with us at San Luis Valley Behavioral Health Group to help end that stigma. We're very eager to put the community back in the community mental health center model. So we're very excited to partner with you guys in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for what you did. I move to accept the proclamation, adopt the proclamation for September to be Suicide Prevention Month.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt a proclamation for Suicide Prevention Month to be September to be the Suicide Prevention Month. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to adopt the proclamation for September Suicide Prevention Month.
Thank you, guys. Okay, we'll move to citizen comments and special presentations. Citizen comments will be first. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and council will not take action at this meeting. So do we have any citizens that want to speak? Thank you. Great. We will move on to scheduled appearances. And our first one will be Mrs. Kimberly Temple with Wall Smith and Bateman.
Good evening. I'm here with Wall Smith and Bateman this evening. We conducted your 2022 fiscal year audit, and we have the result of that audit. I believe you all have a copy here in front of you. We'll go over the highlights. If you have questions as we go through, please feel free to stop me. But also understand that being right here in the Valley and a couple of us right here in Monte Vista, we're open to do a work session if you want to dive further into these numbers. So if you open up the bound copy of the report, page 1 is the independent auditor's report. And this is really the only page in this financial statement that comes from us. This is our letter to you, letting you know that we have audited your financial statement for the year ended December 31st, 2022. And in that second paragraph here, we're giving you an unmodified opinion. This is a good, clean opinion, the type that you want to have and submit to the Office of the State Auditor. The basis for our opinion are the auditing standards of our profession that have been adopted nationwide. Your responsibility, well, the responsibility of your management is to have a system of internal control in place that allows these financial statements to be presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So the financial statements you're looking at tonight are the same presentation that New York City would have. Everyone follows the same presentation manner so that they're comparative across the state and across the nation. Our responsibilities then are to do a risk assessment and focus our work on areas of your financial statements that may be higher risk and give you an opinion on those financial statements. On page 2, of course, there are some caveats to that. We do not audit 100% of the transactions that run through the city. There is a risk of financial misstatements due to fraud or error. We do our best to assign our risk assessment to those and audit the areas accordingly. We exercise our professional judgment throughout the audit. As I mentioned, we identify and assess the risks of material misstatement and focus our work accordingly. We obtain an understanding of your internal control, and that means we look at your significant transaction cycles. We go through those with your management, and if we see any holes, we let you know. We evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies that you use, make sure they're appropriate. And we conclude whether, in our judgment, that the city is in good financial standing going forward. The last couple of paragraphs in this letter discuss the information that is behind the footnotes. We do look at the budget to actual statements for the year. It just has, we don't give you an opinion on those. We make sure the numbers align with the rest of the financial statements presented up front, but this letter explains more of what we do there. So I'll go through the different sections of the financial statements and maybe point out some of the larger numbers, your fund balances going forward, things like that. The first section here that starts on Roman numeral I is the management's discussion and analysis. And this is a narrative presentation of your financial statements from management's perspective. We don't audit this either, but we do make sure that all the numbers that they present here, the facts and circumstances that they're disclosing, align with what's happening in the financial statement. These financial statements can be very difficult to understand. So this management's discussion and analysis takes all those statements and puts it in a narrative form. So hopefully your constituents can understand a little bit about what's happening at the city. So that goes through, I believe, Roman numeral 13. And the basic financial statements start after that. So you'll see page 4, the basic financial statements. There are 2 government-wide financial statements. So as you go through your budget process, you're used to dealing with the funds, and almost everything happens here on a fund basis. These financial statements take all of those funds and roll them together for one presentation of a balance sheet and an income statement. These are on the full accrual basis of accounting, so your capital assets are reported here, as well as your long-term liabilities. On page 4, the governmental activities are all of the funds except your water and sewer. So your governmental activities are in the first column, your business type activities are in the second column. And combined, about a quarter of the way down in that final column, your total assets are at $33.5 million. About halfway down, your total liabilities are at $7.8 million. There are some deferred inflows of resources related to your pension and your property tax of $800,000. But that leaves the city with a total net position of $25 million. The next page is the statement of activities. And so again, this is the income statement for the entire city. This presentation differs from a business's income statement. You'll see the expenses are clear over on the left-hand side. And those for the year were $6.7 million. As you move across, there's program revenues that come in to offset those expenses in the form of charges for services and grants and contributions. If you go clear to the right-hand side, halfway down here, you'll see that that leaves you with a negative $2.2 million. The purpose of this financial statement is to show you that without your general revenues in the form of property taxes that come below, the city would not be able to operate. Your general revenues for the year were $4.7 million. Overall, your total net position increased $2.5 million this year. Again, that's a very big picture approach of what's happening in the city. In that management's discussion and analysis, there's a comparison of those two statements from last year to this year. And I think that gives you a great indication of how things are progressing. If there's things that are out of the ordinary, for the most part, everything was very much in line as we went through those. The next statements that we have here are your governmental fund financial statements. So these are presented on the modified accrual basis of accounting, which is how you budget. So the numbers here are very similar to the numbers that Anita had presented to you back in January. There are not very many adjustments that happen from the audit this year to get these in accordance with GAAP. We did have a couple of adjustments to those government-wide statements, but nothing unusual. So it's important to understand that when you're looking at the numbers that Anita gives you, you're dealing with good financial information on an ongoing basis. So as I mentioned, page 6 is your governmental fund balance sheet. And you have total assets there of 7.6 million, liabilities of 1.2 million, and total fund balance of $6 million. Of that $6 million in fund balance, 3.2 is in your general fund, and 3.1 million of that is unassigned. You also have your funds that are set aside from the 1 cent fund, capital projects, and capital improvements that are shown here individually. The other funds are called non-major funds, and that detail is presented in the back of the financial statements. Page 8 is the governmental funds statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. And again, we'll just look at that final column on the right. Your total revenues for 2022 were 6.7 million. Your total expenditures were 5.9 million. You do have other financing sources this year in the form of lease proceeds and transfers between funds of 487,000. Overall, your fund balances increased this year by 1.2 million. So you went from 4.7 million last year to 6 million this year. 500,000 of that increase was in your general fund. The rest of that increase is restricted for certain purposes. Page 10 are the proprietary fund financial statements. So this is your water and your sewer fund. Page 10 is the statement of net position. And in those two funds, you ended the year with total assets of 9.3 million, liabilities of 3 million, and total net position of 6.3 million. If you look on page 11, this is the revenues and expenses for those funds for 2022. And your operating revenues were 2.3 million. Operating expenses were 1.9 million. That did leave you with an operating income of $400,000. There's non-operating revenues of 366,000, some capital contributions, and then transfers out to the general fund. Overall, you increase the net position in these two funds by 195,000. So you went from 6.1 million to 6.3 million in your net position there. We won't go through the cash flow statement on page 12, but this is a great presentation of how the money flows through those water and sewer funds. So if you want to track the cash, that shows you how that's done. Page 13 begins the notes to the financial statements. So I just rambled through a lot of numbers there. These notes will give you information on how those numbers are derived. So if there's any number that you can't get your arms around there, this is a really good place to go. It's also a really good bedtime reading if you can't fall asleep. So I won't go through the notes in detail. Like I said, there's some good information here. Page 22 is a good one that has your capital asset activity for the year. And of course, 2022, the big story was finishing up the Sky High complex. So that the big activity is the deletion of construction in progress and it moving into building, and it'll start to be depreciated now in 2023. Your debt is on page 24. This is a recap of what happened during the year for your long-term liabilities. Again, I won't go through that in detail, but it's nice to see here the increases and the decreases. And just beyond that, there's an amortization. It shows you how you're budgeting for the next 10 years in some cases, how that debt's going to be repaid. Not quite 10 years. So beyond the notes to the financial statements, you have the required supplementary information. And in here, you'll find the budget to actual statement for your major funds and quite a bit of pension information. Because you're part of the Firemen and Police Protection Association's pension plan, there's a whole lot of disclosures here about how funded those programs are. And since they're fully funded, there's no worry there. We did not have any over budget conditions in those major funds either. In the supplementary information section that starts on page 42, that column on the front statement that said other funds, this is the breakout of those. So your conservation trust, urban renewal, kids connection, and grants fund, the detail of those are presented back here. And with that, that is the end of the financial statements. Do you have any questions on that section? A lot of information there. We do have two other letters that we have issued. One letter is a required communication that we give to every client, and actually every auditor across the United States gives the same communication letter that just kind of recaps some of the information in our engagement letter from the beginning of the year, and then the results of the audit. The other letter is an opportunity for strengthening some internal controls in some places. As I mentioned, you have very few adjustments that affect the actual funds. I think maybe just two. And they weren't anything that we were overly concerned about. It was very recognizable to get those put in there. As far as the other adjustments that we see, just an opportunity to go ahead and take a step back and look at your government-wide presentation and making sure some of those numbers are as accurate as they can be.
Mr. Mayor and council. So the good news is we're taking in more than we're spending. We can pay our bills. So That's always a great thing. I want to thank Kim and her staff at Wall Smith and Bateman. We switched auditors. We did a request for proposal, made a new selection. And so anytime you do that, there's some things that, on occasion, our other auditor had us do things a little bit differently. And so, and then with some changes in the government finance area, we've learned a lot this year. And I want to thank Anita for what she has done and working with Kim and her staff and getting this all together and the presentation tonight. It was a pleasure and everything looks great.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
We appreciate the opportunity to work right here in our backyard. It saves us from going over the hill, and we do appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
If I have any questions, I'll call you.
Go on.
Well, just golf course, Jake Milan.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Austin has presented the last couple of times I've been unavailable, so happy to be back. Some exciting things going on at the golf course. I don't know if any of you have been out there this year or seen it. Looks a lot better. We have someone more consistent on the irrigation and upkeep of the course, which is always a challenge. The reason I'm here tonight is to talk about the new pro shop and clubhouse that we are going to be building. The city of Monte Vista 2 years ago, was it GG, allocated $40,000 to this project. It's taken a little longer than we had expected to use that money, but we recently used that money as a down payment to Skyline Metal for the building that we are purchasing. Right before I got here today, I actually got the plans that we've been waiting 2 months for, which I believe Anita gave you guys a copy of. So I really haven't been able to go over those in great detail, but they look pretty close in a quick glance to what we had discussed for our initial, but that is not a final plan. That's just the initial plan from the architect. It's going to be a 60 by 60 metal building. We hope to have 2 golf simulators in there, as well as areas for hosting small gatherings, up to hopefully 75 to 80 people. That will depend on building code and everything else as far as that goes. We'll have a storage unit, excuse me, on one end of the building as well. We'll have an awning on one end where people can sit out and eat or hang out, play horseshoes, whatever. We are not doing a kitchen. The golf course is not on city sewer. We have a septic tank and leach field out there. So in order to put a full kitchen in, that would be a whole new septic tank and leach field. So we're trying to avoid that just for cost. Again, all of that is still in the permit stage. Since I've got the plans, now I can go to Randy, building inspector, River County, so on and so forth. So the reason I'm here tonight, I gave you a cost analysis. This is estimated. The only absolute cost on this is the first one for the building, delivery, and installment is $125,000. That's from Skyline Metal. We have gotten that bid. We know that bid. After that, we have been waiting because we haven't had the plans. So the electricians, the plumbers haven't really been able to give me an absolute number. If you look at the paper that I gave you, the initial cost, the $238,000 is what we estimate to get the building up. The slab, electric roughed in, plumbing roughed in, and the building up with insulation. The next line items there, Rio Grande County, 2 weeks ago, City of Monte Vista, like I mentioned, gave us 40,000 2 years ago. Rio Grande County just allocated $140,000 for this project. I met with the commissioners a couple times. They really think this is a valuable thing to not only Monte Vista, but Rio Grande County, to have a place where people can gather for meetings, but also have golf simulators, which is a big thing in the city. Top Golf is the big one we've probably all heard of. It will be Monte Vista's version of Top Golf, I guess, hopefully. Monte Vista Golf Club, we hope to allocate 65,000 to this project. So that's 245,000. So we have the funds right now to erect the building. But we also need to finish the interior walls that you see in there, in the plans, put bathrooms in, buy tables, chairs, furniture, so on and so forth. We hope to have a bar in there as well, since the golf course has a liquor license to serve alcohol. So when we are hosting parties, they can choose to rent the bar and have a bartender, so on and so forth with that. So why I'm coming here today is to request additional funding from the city. This building will be owned by the city, is a city asset. When we're all done, we were to leave the golf course, it is the city's. The golf course is the city. So we feel at the golf course, we're putting the time, the money, the labor, the footwork into getting this done. And would love to have additional help. So the 2 line items that I highlighted in your packet, I believe, the 2 areas that I think or we feel that the city could help with us. One is the framing materials for the internal construction of the walls. We estimate that to be $30,000. The other area is tables, chairs, furniture, and appliances. We also estimate that at $30,000. Don't know budget, don't know CTF funds, don't know funding that the city has available, if any, but either or both of those would be a great help in getting this finished. If we were to get that, that leaves us about $145,000 to finish the project, estimated, and we hope to get that through private donations and possibly grant funding once we get the main building erected.
I'm also proud of the work that y'all have done out there.
Thanks.
Very, over the past 4 years, it's been an amazing turnaround. And you've already mentioned grants, but I want to bring this up again. This is an asset to Monte Vista, and I want to be supportive if we can afford it. But have grants and other types of funding been looked at?
They have.
Okay.
Golf courses are tough because they don't want to give money to golf courses. Golf courses are kind of looked at as, well, the rich guys play golf, so they should have money to do it. But most golf courses are not owned by the city or managed by city. Most of them are privately owned or so on and so forth. So we have looked at them. We haven't looked at it extensively because we haven't had the plans. We haven't had until that. So we're at that point right now. I know the Alcohol Foundation is, and Carla has talked to us, and we will be contacting them as well.
Well, you've got 2 things going for you. Like you said, the golf course is owned by the city. So that helps you with the
Right.
grants a little bit. And if I'm not mistaken, our golf course has great historical significance as well. And it's also one of the only flat golf courses in the area, in the state.
Yeah, I mean, almost is flat, but it has water and trees and a little more topography.
Right, but I just remember that was one of the attractions to the
Right.
Monte Vista
Straight and
golf
flat,
course, is
yeah.
that
And small
that
grades.
it's flat and that actually made it more challenging.
Right.
100 years, 2028.
I believe so. We'd love to have the building.
Excuse me?
100 years is in 2028 for the golf course being there.
I
Wow.
think it was 1928. One of the oldest in Colorado. I don't know exactly which one it is. Any questions for the project or? We do have a lot of members that are electricians, our plumbers, our heavy equipment that are going to be helping in this to drive this cost down a little bit. Hopefully we can lower these numbers a little bit, but we can't count on that either.
Are they certified and qualified?
Oh,
Would pass whoever's inspection?
So for council, we'll be, when Anita gives her report, we'll also be going over when we're gonna have a work session for the planning of the 2024 budget. And so that would be a great time for us to dive deeper into this and see what we can do and get back to the golf committee.
If you need us at that too, or don't, or whatever. Any questions?
Okay. Yep, thank you.
Mhm. So hopefully, I mean, my plan is to, by the end of the year or early next year, have a building up. We have the money to get it up. But it's not gonna be functional until we get some more funds. Thank you all.
Great job.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes.
So the all hazardous mitigation plan.
Mayor, the council, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you today. And Gigi, thank you for the short notice and allowing me to come onto the agenda. And I didn't follow proper procedure and provide this to you before, but I do have a small executive summary of this 300-page document. I didn't print out that many of them. I figured the environment could probably save that. There's an executive summary there, and then also a resolution that's been passed by the Board of County Commissioners for Rio Grande County. Excuse me, let me introduce myself. My name is Brian Burrell. I'm the Emergency Management Director for Rio Grande County. My background in history is I'm a nurse and a paramedic. I had a pretty extensive career in critical care transport, and then I ended that career as a manager of critical care transport programs, both air and ground. During that time, I had a lot of experience working with FEMA during the hurricanes in 2016, 17, and 18, when we had to evacuate South Texas, Florida, and also the Caribbean islands. That's my experience with some emergency management. But in March of this year, the county commissioners hired me as the emergency manager for the county, and I was handed this project, this document, basically. It had been finished already, but hadn't really been adopted, hadn't been approved by either FEMA, the county, the state, or any of the other entities. What this is, the hazard mitigation plan, is really, it's a plan for all 6 counties. Each county used to have its own plan, but then in 2023, they decided that a lot of times when things happen in the valley, they happen to all of us. If a major incident happens, a lot of the resources are utilized from each one of the counties, the response agencies, the hospitals that we have here, county governments, and things like that, city governments. So when something bad happens, and bad things have happened, and bad things are going to happen again, unfortunately, but it's my job to help you as the city leaders to help mitigate as much of the hazards you have in the city as possible. And it's also my job to do that for the county, also for Del Norte, and also for South Fork. So I will also be meeting with them. You guys are first, thanks to Gigi allowing me to be on and Anita allowing me to be on the agenda for today. So what this does is this also allows for funding and reimbursement after an event happens. Say, wildfire happens or avalanche happens. Now the incidence of something like an avalanche affecting the city of Monte Vista is very, very slim. Not going to happen. It does happen in the county, and it does utilize the resources. So that's why it's on the list. What does happen here in the county, as well as wildfire, high winds, storms, winter storms, power outages, pandemics. And I hate to even bring that up because we're all talking about it again. The pandemics is, it's these things that really tax the resources and the abilities of the cities and the counties to respond to emergencies. And so what the hazard mitigation plan does is it allows myself and members of the responding agencies, members of the cities and the counties to work together for whenever an event happens. After that event, we can secure funding for reimbursement, for infrastructure rebuilding, and for service recovery, for government recovery, different things like that. So I'm not really here to ask you to, put forth a resolution and say, yes, go forth and be fruitful. I'm here to give this as an informational document, and I will provide this to you electronically so you can provide it for them as well. And so maybe in the next few weeks, I can come back and we can discuss it again after you've had a chance to really take a look at it. And then we can kind of have a much larger discussion. But the county has already adopted it. FEMA has already approved it for use within the valley, and the other counties have also adopted the plan. Not saying that to put any pressure on you. I'm just saying that they have done that, and it seems like it's a pretty solid plan as far as that's concerned. And we're asking that you guys review it, take a look and see what you think, and then get back with me and we can discuss again. Go from there. Do you have any questions for me right now about either what my job is or how I can help you?
So Brian, can you give kind of the 10,000-foot level of what any major changes that you made in this plan?
Sure.
For revisions and from the past one? Certainly,
I appreciate that. And I was a little bit of a disadvantage because all this work was done before I walked into the office. Art Whitner was my predecessor as the emergency manager for the county, and he worked a lot with a lot of the entities that put this plan together, as well as the other emergency managers in the other 6 counties and entities such as yourselves with the municipalities in those counties. But what the 10,000-foot view of it is we look at all the hazards that may happen within the county. And the big ones for the big changes, if you ask about the changes, or one was for cyber attacks, is that there's mitigation plans in here for cyber attacks. And this is something we really didn't have to think about maybe even 5 years ago. But just as recent as a couple of months ago, there was 2 individuals that tried to enter the Alamosa County network servers area. They didn't have the proper credentials. Luckily, they were detained, and the law enforcement was able to talk to them and clear them out. But why were they trying to get into the counties or their grounds? There's all kinds of bad actors out there, and you don't have to have much more than just a computer or a cell phone to wreak some havoc. I have some friends that live in Tallahassee, and their hospital in Tallahassee was shut down by Russian hackers for almost 2 weeks. Their electronics just didn't work. All their charting, all their documentation, everything had to be done by hand. Immediately they were snapped back into the 1970s, doing just one stroke. So those kind of things are out there. There's another one that's hazardous materials. I know that the co-op is looking at putting in some more anhydrous ammonia storage and things like that. There's hazards there. The other things, that we have to worry about in this area are flooding, of course. This year we had about almost an 8,000-foot river in the Del Norte area, and Gigi and I had a couple of conversations about the flooding just north of town. I was new to the area and the spring runoff, and I really didn't know what all that meant. Craig Cotton from the water board called me and he said, "Hey, there's some flooding north of Monte Vista." And I was like, okay, is this good or bad? He's like, "Oh, no, that's normal. What happens? I just want to let you know." I was like, okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But there's those kind of things where I can be involved. This plan allows for us to look at those hazards that you currently have, what has been done, what is being done, and what can we do to make things safer for your town, for your citizens, and then also what we can do to pay for it. So that's a lot about what this plan does. And after the fact, after a major event happens, this allows for funding for recovery, for reimbursement, and things like that as well. If that makes sense.
You work with the LEPC then?
I have worked with the LEPC. As a matter of fact, they're having a big conference right now this week in Breckenridge. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. But yeah, absolutely.
For the record, Mr. Mayor, would you tell us what that acronym is?
You can ask. That's all I know of when I read it.
It's Local Emergency Planning
Mission.
Yeah, Local Emergency Planning Commission. Yes.
But there's a group of like 8 or 10 here in the valley. So whenever we do certain things out, I have to notify them to let them know we're doing it. Like a reaction. So if I want to know.
Mhm. Yeah, all the emergency managers in the valley work real closely with LAPC and the DFPC, and there's about another list of acronyms about that long that this year use. But you know, like I said, my job as emergency manager for the county is a resource to you all. I know you've had events in the past and you've been able to manage those quite well. You're really lucky to have the resources that you have with your fire department, your ambulance service, and with your city governments. You guys are doing a great job. I've seen much bigger towns do it a whole lot worse. Let me say that. So.
Right here. Well, I would like to hear more from you, so
Okay,
we can schedule out another time.
certainly. I'll get this file to you guys electronically and you can disseminate it amongst the panel and we can get back.
And you have sent it to me, Brian, so I'll make sure the council gets it.
I think the one I sent you might have been in draft format. I do have the final.
Oh, okay.
So I'll do that. I'll send the final one that was approved by you. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. I appreciate
Anybody
it.
else have any questions? Lauren, Jason?
Sorry.
Okay.
All right, thank you all very much.
Very much for
Appreciate it.
being here. KLJ, update on land use code revision and public engagements. No, okay.
Well, DJ, why don't you go give an introduction?
That's fine. Well, I get to do. No. So Neil Putnam is the lead consultant for our land use rewrite. So we talked before last meeting about our public engagements we had coming up. And so they're doing them. We had our first 2 today. There's one actually going on right now at Nino's. Councilor Locke was able to attend, as well as some other people from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So he's going to kind of give an overview of where we have been, where we're at, and then what this happens next, like after engagement. And then, so that's what he'll be going over today.
Good evening. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity to speak to you. I'll first of all, I'll introduce myself a little bit. Again, I'm with KLJ Engineering. If you're not familiar with KLJ, we are an engineering company that primarily serves 5 states, the 2 Dakotas, Minnesota, Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado as our primary target areas. However, we have had some clients outside of those, but those seem to be our areas. We do have 3 offices here in Colorado, in Inglewood, Grand Junction, and Montrose. So we have established ourselves pretty well in various parts of Colorado and doing either engineering, planning, and all those types of activities. A little bit about ourselves. We're about 500 employees. Again, we do engineering, we do environmental work, we do, again, land use planning, we do things such as energy, telecommunications, oil and gas, and then obviously, and then other things is government relationships, and grant writing and things of that nature. So we're pretty multifaceted. And then the other aspect that DJ had just talked about is our public engagement part of our company. And what that does is that helps us try to, when we're doing a significant project, be it a transportation project or a plan or land use planning or zoning code rewrite, is what's critical part of that is public engagement. Because it's not only because in order for a plan or a project to be effective but also has to be acceptable throughout your community, is to get that public feedback on the front end. Is because and I was before I joined KLJ, I was a public official for 35 years. I was a city planner. I was also in county government. I was a county assessor for many years, and I was also a deputy county auditor. And then I've also was an elected official for 21 years. So I've been on that side too. So I can relate to constituent service and things of that nature. So it's kind of different being on this side of the aisle sometimes now than on that side. So that's why I thinking, because when I was one of you, it was critically important to try to figure out what is the constituency telling us? How credible is it what they're telling me? Is it predominant opinion? Is it, maybe is there some types of interest that, is focusing that particular area? You know, it might be development, it might be housing, it may be legal issues, it may be all kinds of things that, or a combination thereof. You know, and it could be also things that come from Denver or from Washington, DC. So those are all the things that kind of go into it. So not only is this project is going to be involved in this, but we're also looking at the alignment of your code towards Colorado law. And also there are many aspects of federal government that do affect land use. You know, things such as the Clean Water Act and the Telecommunications Act and things of that nature. So that's one of the projects or the aspects of this project is it's checking for those types of things. You know, are you consistent with state statutes? Are you consistent with the federal standards? Are you also consistent with maybe best practices? Are you consistent with some of the contemporary trends that are happening out here in the land use planning or housing or codes and things of that nature? So that's kind of how that's kind of the 10,000-foot view of, we'd say, is what our initial overlook is at here. We're starting now to dive into the weeds, so to speak, of the code, looking for things that are maybe a little inconsistent. Some of it is also maybe some of the terminology is a little outdated. You know, maybe there's some more contemporary terms that could be better, you know, a better description of them. And that's a very common in codes. You know, what happens is codes get amended over time. Things maybe might not have gotten repealed or it got misplaced, or sometimes the code is the section of the code is very applicable. However, it may be just not in the best place. And maybe just move it to a different section so that it flows a little better. You know, things of that nature. So that's one of the things we're looking at. It's just maybe just reformatting so that it's a little bit more user friendly. We're going to try to maybe do some flow charts and some graphics and things of that nature to try to make it a little bit more like he was saying that perhaps a layperson looks at it, makes it very easy to understand and easy to follow. And so that's one of the things that we're really going to try to strive for. That's probably more towards the end product is that we're going to look for. Try to make it so it's not quite as narrative. You know, try to make it maybe a little bit more visually appealing. I've always found that sometimes it's easier just to, okay, show me what you're talking about sometimes. Now, whether that's necessarily part of the code or perhaps an exhibit or an appendix or something just to kind of help supplement it. We'll figure that out closer to the time, the end. So, and then obviously we're looking at some of that we've been your planning commission and your staff has identified to us some of the hot topics that are out here that you really want us to focus on. Some of them are, you know, that we've talked about was housing. And that's, I believe, also because of the grant that you did receive. That has to be a major emphasis of what we're examining, the various types of housing. And housing is a pretty complex thing because sometimes housing is not necessarily home ownership. Housing can also be the types of choices that people want to live in. And it could be also whether it's all the different styles and the different things is where they want to live and the amenities that they're requesting and all types of things. And then also too, it's not only is the housing, but maybe within a housing district, what types of activities are there to complement residential and then also commercial and so forth. So, you know, those are all the things that will kind of go into the mix. But a little bit again about the process. We're starting the public engagement process right now. We're doing a bunch of events, trying to kind of get a good snapshot of representation of your community. We've set up a website that DG can probably send you the link and so forth. And we're asking that to get more, also some participation from the community and things. We're posing some questions to them. All those things that we're going to be looking for. I'm gonna be visiting with some of your stakeholders, some of your key people, what are some of the things that are on people's minds, such as, your planning commissioners, as well as your building official, and probably some of the other major officials here in town. So that's public engagement part of it, and then once we reconcile all the comments together, we'll try to find some of what are the common themes, what are the common issues that are out there, and bring those forth through the planning commission and get their feedback, as well as then ultimately making a presentation to you of what you think what our findings, and then we'll just kind of go from there after that, what your initial feedback is from those, and then we need to make some alterations after that as well. So we're just getting that's the process right at this point. I'll try to answer any questions that you may have over the process. We've been doing this for quite some time in different, like I said, throughout Colorado and through some other states, which is kind of good because sometimes you get some feedback from some other states or some other communities that are very similar to yours, or have maybe some of the same circumstances that you have. So that's why sometimes, we might have something that maybe in Western Montana might be very similar, or even the Black Hills of South Dakota has a lot of the same issues that you may have. Right, so that's why sometimes even comparing within a state sometimes doesn't make, you got different parts of your state that may be different dynamics so sometimes that's why what's one of the advantages of looking beyond the Colorado state line sometimes. I'll try to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions?
No, I thank you for coming today, and
Yeah.
it was a very good discussion.
Oh, yes, I really appreciated your comments today. You were very helpful, giving us a background on what's on your mind. If you do have an opportunity to come to any of the other outreach that we have, please come do, and if you prefer to talk to me aside, that's fine too, or however you wish to engage. Or if you think of something after the fact, DJ has my contact, you can certainly reach out to me if you want to set up a call or something of that nature. We certainly can do that.
Neil, did you
Yeah.
bring any of your brochures that you're handing out?
I did it.
You didn't?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get them out to you.
Well, so council can all have a copy.
Yeah.
But,
Actually, they all received a copy via email.
okay,
Copy on the email with all the information.
Gotcha.
It's the flyer attached to the very bottom.
so I really hope that people will think about this and get engaged and not be afraid, because most people don't understand what our land use codes are or why we have them until we tell them no, or if they want to lodge a complaint against their neighbor or something. And because people are always wondering, then why don't we have a rule for this, or why do we have a rule for this?
Right.
And I want to thank Gene. Neil and DJ have both spent a lot of time with Gene as well.
Okay.
And so, why do we have a limit on the number of dogs you can have in your yard in the city? Something simple. But they're also reviewing and deleting archaic ordinances due to just the years of change. This is 2023 now, it's not 1960. So
Right.
We appreciate Neil and his colleague Laura for being here and spending a few days in Monte Vista, and hope
Yeah.
you get some good comments from
Yes,
folks.
very good comments. Some of it just maybe if you kind of want to think about, if you do get the chance to kind of review your code, just take a quick look and go, okay, why do we have that letter for? What behavior are we trying to control? Why are we doing, why is this regulation there? What is it that you're trying to achieve? So sometimes I've always looked at it when I've done codes, is you look at the big picture right off the bat. Then you kind of go, okay, from then all right, what am I trying to, what are we trying to control, regulate, or not? You know, maybe there's some things in there going, why are we, maybe we shouldn't do that any longer, or, you know, those things. So if you, I've always kind of looked at it more globally, take a look at the foundation first. And then you kind of go, okay, now we do want to control that. And then you kind of go, okay, now what should we control? How should we do that? And then is it more the behavior you want to try to incentivize positive behavior and not be as punitive on the front end? If you get people to react positively up front, then you don't have as much issue on the other end. You know, but I'm going to say that doesn't always work. You know that as well as I do. It doesn't always work that way, but sometimes that's some way to look at it. So if I could leave you with one thing, just maybe take a look at it, and when you read something, just take a look and go, you know, why is it there? You know, and if you have a good reason why it's there, well then pick, you know, but if you don't, that's why you want to question it. So okay, that's what that is.
And the website that he spoke of is linked at the top of the city webpage. There's a banner at the very top, and it says land use code update. If you click on that, it will take you to the land use website with all the update. So
You did have some pop-up meetings today, right?
Yes, we did. I had one over at the Kids Connection, and I had there's a couple came in and gave us some really good feedback.
And you had one at Nino's and
Their hat's going on right now. We have a couple. We're gonna be out at your ball game on Friday night. So we'll be out there, and
potato festival on Saturday.
yeah, we'll be here till Saturday.
you've gotten good feedback. from
Yeah,
those?
yeah,
Great.
very good feedback. But please encourage your citizens to come talk to us, or even if once we're out of town, there's avenues for them to kind of reach out to us. And if they don't feel comfortable talking to you back, and they'd rather talk to us, that's fine too. That's perfectly acceptable. Okay, yeah, I know you have a big agenda, so. We'll get from there. So hope maybe we can get a chance to talk to you, you know, like my visit here, so.
Very good, thank you. My mistake by not having us, move to approve the audit is read.
Yeah, we need to do that.
So we can get a motion to approve the audit as read.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the audit by Wall Smith and Bateman as read by Kimberly Temple.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the audit as read. Is there any discussion? Anita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz. Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the audit as it was read by Wall Smith and Bateman.
All right. We'll move on to resolution. 2023-10 resolution for 2023 budget amendment. I knew you were gonna be talking to us.
Mayor, council members, thank you for approving that. That was number one on my list before I started talking about the amendment. We got together and looked at our budget, there's always something you want to change. I started out small, trying to update some of the additional revenues and grants that we received, as well as the expenditures that go along with that. And it kind of,
Anita, if I may interrupt just for a moment, for council, since you've got a lot in your packet, this is on page 79. You want to follow along. 7-9.
Thank you.
wow. So anyway, and then it turned into making exceptions for some of the things we want to do and some of the things that we've already done. So I will just go through it. The resolution 2023-10 to amend sums of money for the 2023 budget whereas the city council of the city of Monte Vista has conducted a public hearing to review the proposed 2023 budget in accordance with the Home Rule Charter and approved the 2023 budget on November 17, 2022. And whereas the city of Monte Vista has made provisions therein for revenues in an amount equal to or greater than the total proposed expenditures as set forth in said budget. And whereas it is not only required by law in the city of Monte Vista Home Rule Charter, but also, if necessary, amend the revenues and expenditures provided in the budget and for the purpose described below as not to impair the operation of the city, and now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Monte Vista, amend the appropriation of funds. The following sums are hereby appropriated for the following funds. A summary of all funds, revenues and expenditures. I have listed the revenues, the 2023 adopted budget, what the 2023 amended budget will be, and the decrease or increase. And when I read these numbers, I will probably just round them up or down. That's okay. The general fund adopted budget, 4.3 million, the amended 4.7 for an increase of 411,000. There was no change in the Conservation Trust Fund. The Urban Renewal adopted budget, 9,000, the amended budget, 10,000, for a difference of 1,000. The airport grant adopted budget, 426,000, amended to 446 for a difference of 19,000. Kids Connection adopted 232,000, amended to 358,000 for an increase of 126,000. The Water Fund amended 1,062,000, amended 1.4 million for an increase of 425,000. Sewer Fund 2.6 million, amended to 2.7 for a difference of 100,000. Capital Improvement Fund 634,000, amended to 656 for an increase of 21,000. Capital Project Fund 151,000 and amended to 285 and an increase of 133. 1 cent sales tax fund 633,000, amended budget 677 for an increase of 43,000. The expenditures for the same funds, general fund for amended original budget 4.3, amended 5.1 million for a difference of 766,000. No change in the Conservation Trust. Urban Renewal adopted budget was 9,000. We amended it to 10,000 for a difference of 1,000. Airport grant 426,000 to 446,000 for a difference of 19,000. Kids Connection 228 to 342 for a difference of 114,000. Water Fund 1.2 million, increase it to 1.5 million for a difference of 343,000. Sewer Fund 2.5 million, increase it, well, 2,536,000, increase it to 2,579,000 for a difference of 43,000. Capital Improvement Fund, original budget 503, amended to 664,000 for a difference of 161,000. Capital Project Fund, adopted budget of 150,000, amended to 508,000 for a difference of 358,000. 1 cent sales tax fund is 1,535,000, amended to 1,578,000 for a difference of 43,000. So with these changes, the year-end cash reserve for the general fund would go from $1,000 to a deficit of $354,000. That would be the result of the approval of the outside of the building, the stucco that was approved to come out of the fund balance. So it would show a deficit in the amended budget. There's no change in conservation trust. The net effect in urban renewal was 0. Airport grant was 0. Kids Connection would go from an excess of $4,000, an amended budget, to $16,000, which is an increase in their excess of $11,000. The water fund adopted budget was a deficit of $136,000, would change with the amended budget to a deficit of $53,000. So that was a difference of $82,000. The sewer fund had an excess of $104,000 in the original budget. It would now have $169,000 in the amended budget for a difference of $65,000. Capital improvement goes from $131,000 to a deficit of $8,000, which is a difference of $140,000. This is a result of your approval to expend the restricted fund balance from a number of years ago for Kids Connection. And we transferred $31,000 to them to help cover their air conditioner expenses. Capital project fund goes from an excess of $1,000 to a deficit of $223,000 for a change of $224,000, and that is a result of the payment of and the closeout of Rio Grande Bank for the Sky High project, when we made the final payment and Friends of Sky High approved of using those funds, that excess funds, to apply to the lease loan. The 1 cent sales tax fund, there is no change in the net result, and it shows the deficit of $901,000, and that's because you approved them prior to use the fund balance from the prior year to get it spent this year. Severability of any part, section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this resolution is for any reason held to be invalid. Such invalidity shall not affect the validity of the remaining provisions. Effective date, this resolution shall take effect and be enforced immediately upon its approval by the City Council. And I did include in your packet a narrative or notes that explain a lot of the changes on the individual line items to make up these numbers. Do you have any questions?
Wow. Budget, all that stuff to explain. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2023-10, resolution for 2023 budget amendment.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2023-10, resolution for the 2023 budget amendments. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2023-10 resolution for the 2023 budget amendment as presented by Finance Director Anita Kenzie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Ordinance number 921, second and final reading of ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 12 of the Monte Vista Municipal Code.
Good evening, council. It's the second reading for ordinance 921. Again, it's changing the codes or a portion of the code that allows for rebuilding of non-conforming homes and other structures in areas where they're not typically authorized. So any questions before I read the title? Nope. Okay, good. Ordinance 921, ordinance of the city of Monte Vista, amending Article 3, administration of Chapter 12 zoning of the Monte Vista Municipal Code. I just need a motion to pass that one and we can move on.
Motion to approve ordinance number 921 on second and final reading of ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 12 of the Monte Vista Municipal Code.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 921, second and final reading of the ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 12 of the Monte Vista Municipal Code. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve ordinance 921 on second and final reading for ordinance amending Article 3 of Chapter 12 of the Monte Vista Municipal Code.
Thank you, DJ. July financials?
So now you want to hear more numbers.
Just can't get enough of you.
I included in mayor and council members, I included in your packet the July financial review. I won't do a presentation, but I did also include the slides that I normally show you that are related to the sales taxes. We have finished the month of July with 58% of the fiscal year. The total revenue for the general fund is at 61% of the approved budget, or 2.6 million. The largest source of revenue is taxes, totaling 1.9 million, which is approximately 72% of the total revenue received year to date. Our tax revenues have increased by approximately 6% over the same period in 2022 and 11% over the same period in 2021. Total expenditures in the general fund are at 53% of the approved budget, or 2.2 million. As of month end, the general fund's portion of cash in the main checking account is 3.4 million. Revenues have exceeded expenditures by 376,000, which brought the fund balance to 3.6 million. We have 9.7 months of operating expenses and the unassigned fund balance. The water fund total revenue is at 57% of the approved budget, or 601,000. Total expenditures in the water fund are at 42% of the approved budget, or 508,000. As of month end, the water fund's portion of cash in the main checking account is 541,000. Their revenues have exceeded their expenditures by 93,000, which brought their fund balance to 2.2 million. The sewer fund, the total revenue in the sewer fund is at 34% of the approved budget, or 909,000. Total expenditures in the sewer fund are at 27% of the approved budget, or 682,000. As of month end, the sewer fund's portion of cash in the main checking account is 718,000. Revenues have exceeded expenditures by 227,000, which brought the fund balance to 4.4 million. And as I stated, there's a detail of the summary of the different funds. And I wanted to continue showing the slides where we're comparing the property tax and the sales taxes that we're receiving. When you look at the sales tax, Rio Grande and the city, we're pretty much following suit. I hope we follow in August and September, and it follows and goes up like it did in the past years. Do you have any questions?
Like to make the motion to approve July financials as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve July financial report as read. Is there any more discussion? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segola,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve July financials.
And then I wanted to talk to you about the work session that we wanted to plan. I presented some dates of October 9th and 10th. We thought that we would break it into 2 nights so that we could shorten the length of time and split up the directors, the departments, some on one night and the rest on the next night. And we would provide a light dinner for you. I'm sorry, did I say the 9th and 10th of October? Did that work for everybody? That will give us, by the, I don't know if you call it law or the regulations, I have to have it presented to you by the 15th of October. And then, then it has to be published. And then we will have a first reading, and then in 2 more weeks, we would have to have a second reading. So if we went with the 9th and 10th of October, we could probably get it all done by the end of November, by your second meeting in November.
That'll work for me.
What for you?
And does that sound better to go ahead and break it up? Last year, if you guys remember, it went on quite long, and some of our larger departments are, just take more time. So we thought we could just balance it out. We can bring in sandwiches and just get it done, even though it's split across 2 days.
I like that idea. I think I'm good.
Okay, and Martha had responded that she was good.
What about you guys?
Lauren, Jason?
I'm gonna be in Montana.
And Jason?
It works for me.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead then since we've got the majority and do that. And Lauren, we'll just sneak you into the office and make time and go over any questions you may have.
Okay.
Okay.
What time?
5:30?
5:30, is that too early or? Okay.
Like 30 till the party's over.
6 o'clock?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. You sure you don't have anything else you need?
I'm numbered out.
All right, we'll do staff proposals reports. City clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a few things I have for you this evening. First of all, I would like to thank Anita for the fantastic job that she has done keeping all of us department heads on track with our budgets, and for the fantastic job that the audit came out as. So Anita, thank you for everything you did. The other thing I wanted to share with you all is this year is the year for elections, so I wanted to share that with you. I gave out 10 packets this year. I had 6 that were returned. I sent one of those packets back for signatures to be cured. Unfortunately, that packet never was returned to me. I did have 1 withdrawal. So we ended up with 4 candidates for 2 seats of council. Those 4 candidates are official as of today. I did send those 4 names off to the county for the ballot. Those 4 official candidates are Bradley Watson, Sheila Sanders, Lauren Howard, and Martha Locke. That is the names that and how they will appear on the ballot. We did do this morning, we did a drawing. They all came into City Hall and we drew names to see how they would appear on the ballot. That is how they will appear on the ballot. So I wanted to let you all know that those are our 4 candidates that will be running for the 2 vacant seats for City Council.
Good luck to all of
Okay.
them.
Yeah, congratulations.
And then just a reminder that we do have the CML dinner on the 12th, the District 8 meeting. I have Dale, Martha, and Gigi already signed up for it. If you're gonna go, I need to know by tomorrow morning.
You got me, you got us.
I already got you.
That's an almost.
I think I emailed
like 3 times.
So. And that's all I have for you this evening.
That's on Thursday, right?
That is the Tuesday 12th. Yeah. That's it.
Everything you decided to update all of them. Thank you, Anita.
You're welcome.
Public Works.
Good evening, council. Don't have a written report for you this evening, but I do have a couple of things that I do need your action for. The first is a request to remove water and sewer taps at 703 Morton. The parties that own that lot have requested that the city remove the taps from there and leave that without a bill. It is a joint property with 705. It is vacant. There is not a structure at 703. There are 2 meters. The house is being fed by the meter directly in front of 705. 703 is by itself. According to our code, city council has to approve the application to remove the tap. I did explain with the property owners that if we go forward with this, that they lose the right to that tap. We have to make a physical disconnection. And that if sometime they choose to redevelop that lot and put a structure on there, they have to pay new water and sewer taps at whatever those rates are at the time. They were agreeable to that. I did go out this afternoon and inspect the property. It is vacant. There's kind of an old garage and they use it pretty much for storage of vehicles. So it is not being used. There is not a livable structure at 703. So there's a meter pit directly out front. Disconnect would be fairly simple. So if council approves it, I would recommend approval.
Are the lots still separate? I mean, as far as
According to the assessors, yes, they are.
still separate, so
Yeah.
one could be sold without the other one being sold.
Correct. At which time, whoever would buy that or the people selling it would have to buy taps
Right.
before something could be put on.
That's.
Is there any way they can,
Yes,
is there any way they could have that property joined together?
there is a process where they could do a lot consolidation, yes.
Right now, it's like.
Yeah, it's quite large. Yeah, it's actually, it's about 5 total lots and it's in the Lariat subdivision. That's where this is at.
Well, I'm sure they have and the family now has no intention of selling any of it. I get that. But I think we have to look down the road too. If it is still, if it were already consolidated, I'd be very comfortable taking that water tap off there, but it's not yet.
So this is a
Some
catch
little-
22 that council's gonna see in the way our code just kind of goes off to some of the code revisions that we may not need to address. Is people are going to, as rates continually increase, people that are limited incomes are going to have a harder and harder time. They're basically paying the bill for 2 meters. They're paying the base rates for 705 plus usage. And they are also paying base rates, streetlights, storm drain, pest control for 703. So it is a kind of a catch-22 for the applicant. They can't afford, so eventually that's going to go away. They won't be able to make those payments. It will go into a tax lien, and the city is still going to be out of the money. And it's going to put them in hardship. So this is something that I'll be working with Gigi and DJ and staff to try to come up with a better solution. But the way the code reads right now, any application for this type of thing has to be approved through city council. So, I mean, you definitely have the ability to deny it, but understand that what you're doing is the way the code reads, as long as the structure remains, they must pay those bills. Once the structure is removed, then they can stop that billing. One of the things that we can initiate later, doesn't affect these guys. Unfortunately, we could do some sort of a discount billing that keeps the tap for future generations. It is a revenue loss to the city, but at the same time, if they do choose to redevelop it, it is a revenue gain for the city, because not only will they be paying new taps, which will not decrease, they will increase over time, and they will have to pay those monthly fees again. So they're not using any water, they're not doing anything, but they're seeing the negative side of having 2 bills that most of us have one.
I do understand.
Councilwoman Locke, this is, it's not, like Rob said, this is hitting more of our constituents that have the larger lots, that have, may have had another dwelling on it, and it has been removed. So they're not using it. So by not using it, they're still paying $75 a month. And that gets quite expensive. And so Rob's and my approach is more concern about the current owners, and whoever follows, they'll know they have to pay for another meter. And that's really standard even in the electric industry side, like with rural electric or public service company. So you pull the meter, you've got to pay for another meter.
No, and I'm in agreement with that. I wish they were already consolidated, but that is more of a future challenge.
Yeah, that's something we can address. The code doesn't specifically say you have to consolidate those lots.
Right.
Is it possible to amend the code for inactive status, like you would do a well? Or anything?
Mr. Watson, can I get you to come to the podium?
I mean, my question was, is it possible at all to amend that code to where you can list it as an inactive status? That way the tap stays there, and say instead of the full 100% payment or something like that, they only have to do like a 5 or 10% payment. Even though that utility is off, it's not being used. That way, in the long term, you gain that revenue over time, but yet, say if someone buys it, they have to make a payment to get it out of inactive status. And then that prevents him from having to come back after the fact and installing it, when you can actually just charge the next person to activate it.
Just to clarify a point of that, when we make a physical disconnect, we're digging down right at the curb stop and we're disconnecting the pipe there. This particular property has a meter pit, so we will simply pull the meter, and that'll make the air gap between city side and the residential side. They won't be able to get water. So
I was just
Yes,
And I answer
your question.
I mean, that way you can, if they keep that property, you can sit there and still collect a very small revenue off of it for nothing. They're not using it. You know, get it in the realm of they can afford it. But also, then you can charge the next person something of a fee to reactivate it. And then it doesn't involve you at all.
And it's doable.
And it's doable just for an amendment.
It takes.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Brad. Jason or Lauren, you got any comments on this subject?
No, that's pretty typical, at least in the electric business. If the customer wants to disconnect the service, you know, we would pull equipment off and the new person, whoever would buy the property would have to essentially put it all back in. So as Rob pointed out, that's pretty standard in the industry. You know, and the people who own the property, I mean, to me, that's their choice. Someday, if they want to sell it, either want to consolidate the properties or do whatever, you know, they're going to sell it with that condition known. But I would make a motion to approve the removal of the water service.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve removing the taps or disconnecting the services for 703 Morton.
Yes, sir.
Is there any more discussion on it? Unita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
I,
Counselor Lorenz,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segala,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve to remove the taps at 703 Morton.
Second item that I have for you is a letter from our contractor on the street project. We've divided the street project into two sections, one being the utilities. And the second phase of it is pavement and concrete. And I received a letter dated August 31st from Asphalt Constructors. And before I kind of go through this letter, I do want to let council know that on our project on the utilities, we've been working on Batterson. They have hit groundwater at 3.5 feet. So they have been dealing with 1.5 feet of water every day. So it has drastically slowed the progression of that project. They're doing a good job. It's just going a lot slower. With that being said, the second phase of this can't happen until the utilities are done. And they're running into some concerns about us getting in the winter and cold weather for the asphalt, the concrete. So they have asked if we would allow them to postpone their portion of the project until 2024. They would come in and do those sections that have historically been asphalt. They would put a patch on them so they're still asphalt through the winter months. And then first part of spring into March, first part of April, they would come in and they would finish the project. They are guaranteeing to hold this year's prices. So the bids that we accepted, they're going to hold those prices and they will continue with the 94-day construction window, which was part of their contract.
So
So
it will
since
happen next year.
it would happen April of 2020. And it would be done first part of July. So if they could start April 1, it would be done before the 4th of July. So I just need if council's okay with that. My recommendation is to move forward. On none of the other 3 roads that we've done did we hit groundwater until we hit 5 feet. We have consistently hit water at 3.5 feet. Our pipe, our buried depth for our pipe is 5 feet. They're pumping out 1.5 feet of water for the entire project.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is drastically slowed the project down.
And this is just on Batterson.
This is so far, we haven't even opened up Dennis yet. So we don't know where the transition is. So we're still on Batterson. They need to do Dennis Street, put the water and sewer in on that street as well as the storm before the guys with concrete and asphalt can even come in. Unfortunately, if they start the the concrete. And they can't do the asphalt due to weather constrictions. Then we have a really messed up, we'll have 6 inches of concrete sticking up above ground. The road bed will be 3 inches lower, it will be a mess. So at this stage, it would just be better to hold that contract until next year. Leave Batterson and Dennis reprofile them as dirt roads, which is what they've historically have done. But the pit patch on Fourth, the repairs for the stormwater that they've put in, let them patch that, so that street is still asphalt like it has been, and come in next season and finish the construction. And we'll get a better product.
You need a motion for that or not?
Motion.
I would prefer a motion on it, because it is almost $660,000 that we're postponing in next year. But they are guaranteeing this year's prices, no change in the contract.
And number 1 on the calendar.
We are the #1 work for them for 2024.
So that means the supply of asphalt and oil should be fine.
So if it changes, they're taking that risk.
Okay.
Wanted the roads done, but if that's how it's gotta be to have everything better, then I'm gonna go ahead and motion to approve the postponing of the 2023 project to 2024 April.
The asphalt piece.
Asphalt.
And concrete.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the asphalt and concrete work to go from 2023 to 2024. Is there any discussion on that?
Well, I would ask, I assume we're not expecting the groundwater to change significantly, so what's gonna change between this year and next year?
Well, they'll be out of there won't be any underground that'll be done. It's next year's project is strictly concrete and asphalt. So there will be no utility work next year. It'll just be the concrete and asphalt. The problem is if they start laying the concrete, then we always have that lip. They'll have to try to keep that road profile throughout the course of winter. There's a big chance of damage from plowing and stuff this way. If we just leave it dirt, it's what historically has been, so they'll be able to just do a better job for us.
And then the weather plays a role in when it gets cold, right?
Right. Yeah, because you can blanket concrete and stuff, and the asphalt has to be 50 and rising to do it legitimately.
And then Rob, I think that you and we need to work on a letter to each of those residents in that area so that they understand that the project will continue on, that this was not at our fault. And, give them some TLC. They are very excited that the project was taking place.
Sure.
And so
Yeah,
I'll just have to wait a few more months.
yeah, and we'll make sure that when we do close it for the season, that it is as nice as it can be. So, yes, we definitely do that.
Anybody else? Anita?
Counselor Howard,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Segula,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries for postponing the asphalt and concrete street project to 2024 with the current prices to be held.
And then the only other update that Chief asked me to make is that the four-way stop sign on Moore's is done and completed. So hopefully there's been a noticeable difference in traffic speeds.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. IT.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Going to keep it short and sweet as usual, as last month was more or less a lot of long-term projects for us, just getting completed or started. But to begin with, we replaced some damaged equipment that we had. That one wasn't too big of a deal. It was just a quick little power cable. That one was first of the month. I did my week worth of VMware training. I am still continuing that just with studying so that I can get my certification. We got some new computers pushed out for planning as DJ and Rob have 2 new employees coming on, matter of time for when they actually get here. We were able to push a Cassell upgrade through, so that way financial side should be a little more secured as there's some updates in there. I don't think anything major though. And then the new PD car from when car 12 was wrecked, we now have car 11 and that's been outfitted, has networking and computer in there, so that is functional for PD. Other than that, it's just been security fixes and patches. Is there any questions?
I didn't have anybody else.
All right,
Very good. Thank you.
thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
You too, thanks. Your hair's getting long too. Your hair's getting long.
So is yours, Victor.
I know. I'm saying that because I'm jealous.
Good to see you all. Thank you for this opportunity. We've got a couple other exciting things going on. Working with AT&T, if you recall last year, they encouraged us to apply for a $15,000 grant for Kids Connection, which they did and you received. And they also provided us with 8 Chromebooks that had to be used for other people. They couldn't be used for staff. And so we sent 4 of those, and Anika was able to use 4 of those. The police department was able to use 2 of them, and then we sent the other 2 to the Monte Vista School District. Well, they've come back this year and said we've got 50 computers we want to give to needy families. And so they first talked with Anika, but she's probably not the right person to really hone in and know. So we've been working with Scott Wiedemann at the school, and between Anika and the school district and then AT&T, they are delivering 50 Dell laptops that they will be handing out to families, and this can be from any child from K through 12, or anyone that may be attending the Delta Center. So we hope to get those by September. It's either the September 28th or October 5th. We'll actually get those computers, but the official announcement, I guess, is going to be on October the 11th. And so you guys are invited to attend that. It'll be at 11 o'clock over at the Delta Center. The representative from AT&T will be here, and you know, we'll be planning some sort of a little celebration around that, some sort of an open house. So
October when?
October 11 at 11. So kudos to AT&T for thinking of Monte Vista once again, and it's been really, really positive. We had a good meeting this morning with the RERC. If you recall, that stands for Recreational Economy for Rural Communities. We held those community meetings way back at the end of February. So during this time frame, we've been working on finalizing the actual product, and it's quite lengthy. I can't even tell you how many pages it is, but we got good news, and AmeriCorps, we did get a young man who's taken the position. His name's Xavier Campos. He attended the RERC meeting today, and you know, I think he's 21 years old. He has his college degree, and he's moving here then for this year from Florida. So he just seems very enthusiastic. We're excited to have him. And so we're working on a follow-up meeting with the community. And right now it's tentatively set for October the 18th. We'll do it at Sky High. And again, we'll be reaching back out to the, I think we had about 80 people that had registered and attended those original meetings. So they'll be coming, they'll get an invitation. We'll be doing all kinds of advertising to get folks back involved with that. So we're pretty pleased with that. The airport, the fuel farm is 99.8% being complete. So we're gonna wanna do a little ribbon cutting out there and kind of make a big deal of it. Monte Vista's airport is the last airport in the state of Colorado that CDOT has agreed to help. They're not gonna be doing that grant funding anymore, just like the FAA, which is federal, what is it, FAA. They don't fund fuel farms either. So it's almost a $400,000 project. Our portion was very small. And so it was kind of cool because ours, Del Norte and Alamosa both have newer fuel farms, but ours has a catwalk on top. So ours is better. With some of the CARES money that we've received and ARPA money, Rob and I've been prioritizing some other improvements out there. So we're just getting some things cleaned up. The new furnace has already been put in, the hot water heater, new drinking fountain. Yeah, I didn't say furnace first. We've got a new furnace. So anyway, we're really excited about it because we're receiving comments back from the pilots saying they appreciate it. We're getting it cleaned up. We're going to be doing some exterior painting and continue to make some improvements out there. So at some point, we'll have to do this ribbon cutting for the fuel farm and get you guys out there and see what we've got going on. It's kind of like a little hidden gem that we sometimes.
While you're still on the airport, did the water line get fixed out there yet?
They're working on it.
Okay.
They're working on it. Sursa's going to be here October 21st. That's their annual meeting with the region. So that will be at 11:30 to 1 out at Sky High. So hope you all can make that. But September, I'm sorry, September 21. I said October.
September 21st.
21, yes. 11:30 to 1. And, last year I got a lot out of it. They do a general Q&A and kind of what they're doing. Judy has, well, it wasn't by our choice. Sursa contacted us and said that it's been too long since they have done appraisals on our properties. So Judy's going to work with Rob and DJ, and they'll have to be going from building to building and assessing it. And then that's how, of course, we get rated on our property insurance. So I guess that's good and bad news. National Night Out was a real good success. I want to thank our police department and the staff that helped get that together. We had about 200 people attend, and they served hot dogs and hamburgers, and so that was really positive. And we had many other community partners and emergency aid type agencies that attended, and got a lot of people involved. A couple of local things coming up this weekend. Tomorrow night is the back to school bash that the school is hosting. It's from 4 to 7. I think they're doing free hamburgers and hot dogs as well. They're letting you attend the football game for free, and they've got games. And I don't know, are you in a dunk tank again or something? Okay.
At 5.
At 5, okay,
Just so everybody wants to go, be sure and bring your dollar bill.
Get your arm ready.
yeah. And so if you can, it'd probably be nice to put on your name badge and go out and help support the kids and our administration at the school district. And then Saturday, of course, is the Potato Festival. So that'll start with a 5K race in the morning, and they'll have activities all throughout the day. So lots of still great community events going on, and glad to be a part of. And then there's other, projects that we're working on that will continue to update you as things change and progress in that area. Questions?
Very good. What was the meeting at? The chamber today?
The meeting today, we had the RERC.
Okay.
The
That's
real
what was
economy.
going on.
Yeah, that was at 10 o'clock this morning.
Breezed in and out of there. Sorry, seen everybody was there.
Yeah, so of the cranes that we had in town, and thanks to Public Works, they put them up and they take them down. And so some of the people bought theirs back. We bought the city one back. And but they will be auctioning off 4 of them tomorrow at the Potato Festival. So now it looks like harvest is going good. From what I've heard, they're about 2 weeks behind because of the weather. So we just hope the weather holds out and we don't get an early freeze or something like that. And potato prices are not very good right now, so people aren't very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. Okay, we'll go to the council committee, city commission, and council reports. Counselor Howard?
Lake City Hall, looking good. When are we gonna paint it?
So thank you, Lauren. I know you can't see me. Here's my hand.
Yeah, I see it.
So the first week, 10 days, they had to allow the stucco just to cure.
Yeah.
But now we're starting our 3rd week, but we're waiting for the windows to come in on the police side because they don't want to come back and have to try to touch up any damage if it's already been painted.
Right.
We've got some samples out here on the table. They brought us samples of the actual stucco colors instead of trying to guess off of a little piece of paper. And so I've asked the contractor to bring us a couple other samples, and it's going to look really pretty. You all will be very proud. And I still am amazed that we have gotten so many positive comments about it. So you all made the right decision in saying, let's invest in the outside instead of the inside. I kind of thought that there might be some pushback of people saying, why are you spending money on yourself when, there's other things that need to be done. But so the feedback I've received, people obviously thought that this was a priority. So it's been great.
Awesome. Anything else, Counselor Howard?
No, that's it for me.
Jason?
I'm good for tonight.
For Locke?
Miss Gigi took some of mine. It was about the RERC meeting this morning. That is, if you've not been a part of that, that's really an exciting movement. Actionable plans, accomplishments made, and now we have a follow-up meeting scheduled to decide, what the next step should be. The steering committee, I think, is a really good cross-section of the community. We have city staff, elected officials, United States Forest Service is there. Of course, SLB Go is there, and some of our local nonprofits are all a part of this. It's a very positive movement forward, and I really am excited. Not only to be a part of it, but to sit back and watch it as well. It's just great. A lot of positive progress is coming from that. And I did want to mention about Xavier, but you've already covered that. But I'll tell you my opinion of him. He was young, energetic. He zeroed right in on our need for a little more interactive social media. That's kind of the way the people are going now. So he's on that. I mean, I'm not even sure he hasn't finished it by tonight. I don't know. I haven't looked, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then the meeting with KLJ Engineering, that was, wow, the exchange of ideas, the exchange of what can be done. And I didn't hear anything saying anything can't be done. I heard only solutions. Not so much problems that we have, but things that maybe are just outdated. And so I didn't hear anybody at the table say at any point, well, we can't because. And that was just such a breath of fresh air. I love conversations where not a single person says we can't because. Instead, they find out, well, this might stand in our way, but we can get around it like this. Or we can go over it like this. We can overcome it like this. And that's exactly what that meeting was like. So I appreciate the time that our staff has put into getting all of this put together. I'm excited about the progress that Monte Vista is making just in the past few years. And leading up to that, Adams Street is bustling. I'm not going to overlook that there's some challenges there, that they're being overcome too. And so that's all very positive news, all of it. Even with growing pains, it can be positive, and we are experiencing some growing pains.
Very much so.
But that's okay.
Exactly.
I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done. I paused long enough to, yeah. I'll let you know I was done.
I don't have it. I don't have much either. Staff, and all the people have been working really hard with it for the city. Rob, you and your staff. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. The staff and Gigi, you guys make our jobs easier. And you rightfully make us look at it, so thank you, because I need all the help I can get. But look forward to all the events. I'm gonna volunteer Gene, potato dunk tank at the potato festival. But outside of that, our city is experiencing growing pains. And we need to overcome that. Let's work on all the positive and not the negative. Let's try to turn the negative around. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say Monty strong and take care of your neighbors. We will recess this meeting until
September 14th,
21st.
21st. I just love these.
September 21st, 6 p.m. here at City Hall. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, you guys, don't forget, we have the employee appreciation picnic next week on Wednesday, the